This episode contains spoilers for Jessica Jones, Death in Paradise, and Bones Season 10.
Welcome to Nerd Turtles,
the podcast that encourages you to overcome your geek prejudices.
with Snark.
With Snark.
My name is Jacob.
I'm Snark.
Your name is Mandi.
Mandi.
So, apologies to our faithful listeners.
Apologies.
Who will have noticed probably there hasn't been a new episode in their feed for
Months.
I don't know, is it a feed? How do people even listen to podcasts anymore? Do you think they subscribe on iTunes?
I think they just cast a spell. Podcastio Listenosa.
Yeah, and then it happens.
Nerdus Hurtless.
Yeah. Did you watch the new Harry Potter trailer?
No, I didn't.
It's more of a teaser. There's not much trailer in it.
No.
Just a little bit of whatever his name is. Being awkward, charming. Looks like it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I'll see the fuck out of that.
Yeah, off to a good start this
Yeah,
episode.
it's super good already.
We also didn't see Star Wars, so
No.
we won't be talking about that. People
No.
probably expected, oh, they're back. They'll talk about Star Wars.
No spoilers.
They have no Star Wars spoilers, except it turns out that Chewbacca is the Sith Lord.
Shut up.
I think that would be an awesome turn of events.
Do you know what planet Wookiees are from?
Wookitopia.
No, just Wook.
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 So they're from Wook. That almost makes Wookiees sound almost like a racial slur.
No,
then.
it doesn't.
I don't know. It'd be like if you called Jewish people Jewies. Or
Because they're from Jew?
yeah, aren't they? Isn't that the other name for Israel? Jew. Jewtown.
Stop it! Stop trying to make this episode good.
Good with inflammatory language. Yeah, no, we're going to talk about one of the few topics we have not talked about in our many years of doing this. Although we did sort of talk about, we did girl detectives.
Girl detectives.
Well, we haven't done like detective shows in general.
Detective shows in general.
So we realized that it's kind of about what we've been watching, mostly in the last year or so, or maybe
A few months anyway.
Actually, probably years. Like most of the shows that we've been watching, like Bones and stuff, those are detective shows. They're not detective shows like the procedurals.
They're not hard-boiled.
Well, they're not like, there's not like a private detective, I guess, so it's like.
But Veronica Mars.
Yeah, well, that was one.
Private dick.
But yeah, so we've lately been watching, well, we talked about Miss Fisher's.
Yeah. And we watched Father Brown.
Yeah, which led us on to like Father Brown. People, when we were like, well, what have we done? What have we done? Miss Fisher's, people are like Father Brown.
Did people say that? I just thought Netflix told us to do it.
Well, Netflix was one of the people.
Oh. Yeah, my buddy Netflix says that you should watch Father Brown.
Father Brown and Chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Father Brown and Chill.
Oh,
My buddy Netflix says if you enjoyed Franny Fisher,
yeah.
you might also like
If you
Father Brown.
enjoyed this firecracker of a empowered woman, you might like a stodgy old Catholic man.
Yes. There's similarities.
There's similarities in that they investigate crimes.
To be honest, that was actually a reasonable recommendation. Netflix usually makes ludicrous ones.
Yeah, it's sort of like, you like Franny Fisher? Perhaps you will like Chipmunks, the musical. You're like, what?
Alvin!
Just because somebody did the voicing from the show, did the voicing, or there'd be some like weird tenuous algorithm.
Mm-hmm. That'd be a good band name.
Tenuous algorithm?
Yeah.
Tenuous Netflix algorithm suggestion. That'd be the name of the album. Suggestion.
I don't think Netflix should be in there. I think just tenuous algorithm. Or a good baby name.
Tenuous.
Yeah.
Tenuous isn't that bad a name.
Tenuous algorithm and recognizable Phil.
Recognizable Phil.
Mm-hmm. He is the birthmark.
Yeah.
On his wiener.
That's an in-joke I'm not even going to bother explaining to the listeners.
No.
Yeah, so we watched Father Brown.
Yeah, we watched
Death in Paradise.
Death in Paradise and Jessica Jones.
And Jessica Jones, which is, speaking of tenuously a detective show.
Yeah. She is a detective.
In theory, she did like no detecting, and I guess she had one case sort of in the beginning.
The Hope case.
I guess, which becomes part of the arc.
Turns out being kind of hopeless, actually.
Yes.
Ba-dum-bum.
There was no standalone cases, because the Hope case was actually set up by Kilgrave.
Kilgore Trout?
Yeah. Yeah, like the Jessica Jones arc, like it's a long slog that should have been like 6 episodes. Mm-hmm. That show would have been a lot better if we got like 6 episodes of her just being a PI.
Well, I think they should have spread the arc, the whole 13 episode arc, into like little bits that happened in between episodic.
Well, I guess that's how they
detecting.
Do it. Yeah, like I wanted just a few episodes to like get to know her before she falls apart into PTSD, like, I don't know, non-functional mode. Because the show starts off like that. She realizes that he's back immediately, and it was hard to tell the difference. I don't know. It's like you could feel the impact of it, but there would have been
It was meaningless to us.
You had no sense that she was in any way, like you're kind of told that she's a good detective. She repeatedly says that, I'm really good at this or something like that. And you're like, well,
okay.
Sure, because you're doing really shitty at the case that you're on. You're strong. That doesn't make a good detective. Would have been nice to see her, like, just a couple cases, solve them in her, like, weird, irascible, grouchy way, and then have Kilgrave come in and...
Jessica Jones is what Beans would be if Beans was a human.
Oh, yeah. Beans is a cat we had.
Yeah.
For listeners who don't know who Beans is.
Black hair and everything.
Black hair and everything. Beans wasn't so awkwardly thin, though. Less thigh gap on Beans.
Well, cats have thigh gap.
I guess they do.
Cats have fucking thigh gap.
Yeah. It would
be hard not to. Like, if my legs were, like...
on the
sides of my body. And I didn't have thigh gap.
But I feel like Beans had, like, that swaddle in the middle that kind of filled in her thigh gap.
Listen.
You know, like that the spayed female cats have.
Hey, Pan has that.
He has that too.
So does Bartleby. Everybody's got it.
I'm not sure any of your cats have thigh gap.
They all have thigh gap.
Do cats even have thighs? Do you call that part of a cat's leg a thigh?
Well, I guess their thighs are kind of up next to their butt. So really they don't have thigh gap because their body is in between their thighs.
They have butt gap.
Ew, what? No, they have ankle gap.
Well, yeah, I guess it would be ankle gap.
I have ankle gap. From time to time.
I guess I have ankle gap too.
Thankle gap? Spankle gap?
Thankle gap. There's like cankles, but then if you have like really short legs, you might have thankles.
And I'm grateful for that.
Like if you had feet that just were like where your knees are. Like, I don't know, that'd be very few people who have that.
No, it would be like if there was no delineation between your foot and, like, your thigh.
Yeah.
Thankles.
I know, but I mean, I feel like that you'd have to actually have no knee.
You could have it. You would just have to be, like, you couldn't see any delineation.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've heard it said that people think Jessica Jones is boring.
I don't know if it was boring. I mean, I think you and I both are some of the people who said that, but
I never said it was boring.
Yeah, it's just there wasn't enough story for 13 episodes. Just it needed to be spread out with either cases or other side stories, or not get to Kilgrave until episode 5 or something like that.
Well, and I think it just the same thing kept happening over and over.
Yeah,
again.
It was.
Catch Kilgrave, he gets away. Catch Kilgrave, he gets away. Catch Kilgrave.
And there was like an exponential where he became more, or you got to see more and more of him being evil. Mm-hmm. And then it got to a point somewhere around episode 6 or 7 where it was like he didn't really they couldn't ramp that up anymore, you know, or so it would be like...
There was nowhere left to go.
There was nowhere. He was as evil a human being as you could ever write. And I think that was one of the strengths of the show is I think they wrote like the most evil television villain that I have ever seen. They got like sociopath exactly right.
You'd know.
Well, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It was like looking in a mirror.
Whoa. You don't lick around your face as much as he does, though.
Yeah. It's interesting he brought that back from his Barty Crouch portrayal.
I think
in Doctor Who he didn't lick so much, but he kind of brought it back. No, I thought that. I mean, I thought that was really good. It was a really good portrayal of a sexual predator and the whole relationship between victim and predator. And you know, that's what everybody says is like, oh, it's amazing that, you know, television has finally shown this. Except I kind of felt like in sci-fi, one of the great things it does an allegory of a social issue, and then it puts it in this like sci-fi casing, and then that makes it easier for the public to watch it and think about it and stuff. Except there was like no allegory, and in a way I felt like the allegory actually kind of
cheapened the message.
Cheapened the message.
Because it's like, well,
he literally
you weren't being mind controlled. Why didn't you get away from your bad guy?
Yeah, he wasn't Kilgrave. You know, you have no excuse because he couldn't literally. Whoever was, harming you wasn't literally mind controlling you the way Kilgrave could. So I felt like it was kind of like I kind of had a bad taste in my mouth for most of it. And I was just like, I would have rather this shown just have been about sexual abuse or a rapist or something like that. Not have her have superpowers, not have him have superpowers, and just have this be about a woman confronting or like, this guy coming back into her life that abused her and kept her captive and her trying to stop him. And at the same time, I was also kind of like, but I don't think I actually want to watch that show.
No.
I don't know. So it had a lot of weird kind of feelings about the show, about it sort of being really well done in some parts, but not well done, like with the pacing. And
my issue, or one of the issues I had with it, is like on the surface, it's like, oh, look, main character is a woman. There's other women in it.
Yeah.
But it sort of seemed to have that same problem that happens with like the tough female character,
right,
is that she's not very complex and she's just strong and she's just... Well,
in Jessica Jones' case, she was just fucked up.
Yeah.
Like she's just incapable of being reasonable. Like she only has like one focus. I guess because her like tough facade is like so obviously a facade, and that it's immediately revealed that her real personality is a completely shattered person. And then that's all she is. She's just this shattered person who keeps making the wrong decision over and over again based on emotion. And it's like not, and it's a good study of somebody who's been abused but
I don't feel like it's a female character.
No,
it's a male character portrayed by an actress.
Right. Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying that women can't be like that.
Right.
But it's definitely like, it's a male character.
Yeah.
And I actually think the show might have been more interesting
if it had been a man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the more interesting characters were male in the show. Like,
it's too bad because there's so much. Yeah. There's so much opportunity.
Yeah.
To like for her to be so much more complex.
Well, yeah, it would have been good if she had like any other side to her, other than victim, which I think it could have been shown in a few episodes of her solving crimes beforehand, before she just goes into this interesting, complex PI. And those are like, oh, how does she drink so much or whatever, or why does she drink so much? And then Kilgrave comes back in, and then her personality, like you see this whole other aspect of her, and that shines a light on what you've known about her previously. And then she would be a really complex character, but instead they just start right at ground zero of her being shattered, and it's like, it's
and
not...
I also think it would be more interesting to watch her try to navigate the patriarchy. Yeah. Rather than just...
blowing it to shit.
Yeah, because I think that,
that was more shown with Trisha.
Sort of, but not really,
but
right?
They didn't spend enough time with her. It was sort of like...
They never showed her... I think the thing that happens to women in society is that we are always sort of having to, like, change things about ourselves to live our lives.
Right.
In a way that's safe or accepted or whatever.
Yeah.
And it didn't show them doing that. And I don't think that that's... strong. Like, just being like, fuck you and fuck you, patriarchy. I'm just not going to follow those rules. Like, that's not a reasonable thing. Like, that's not a way that we can live.
I think the closest they came to that was the relationship between Simpson and Trisha. He very quickly tries to start domineering her and mansplaining and everything, right? And she pushes that away from the beginning. And I thought that was kind of the most interesting.
They never got together, though.
Oh yeah, no, but I mean, it was all...
that doesn't make sense.
Well, it's supposed to be like a mirror or a parallel to the Kilgrave Jessica relationship. I think that's what they're trying to do. All male-female relationships have this aspect to it. I think I think is sort of what they're trying to do, but they didn't kind of get there. Wasn't quite written intelligently enough to really pull that off.
Fuck the patriarchy, though.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a pretty strong message in the show. Except, I mean, it's also bogged down with Kilgrave being quite crazy and having superpowers.
Yeah.
Being like a Bond villain, kind of crazy. And I think that's kind of where it falls down. It's like, it removes him from being a regular human being. Like, all the things he says to her and tries to justify himself and is like, but I was good to you. And he's like trying to gaslight her and stuff. This is the kind of thing that real men do to women.
Well, and I think it also could have been so much more interesting if they'd sort of explored more like his sort of motivations for making the people do the things that they did.
Right.
Because I think it could be like even more of an indictment of the patriarchy that like he did these things because he felt like this is what he needed to do to be valuable. Like having, you know, women on his arm and they always needed to be smiling and stuff like that. Like that stuff was interesting.
But they didn't really get in. They never really got into him at all. He was always a two-dimensional psychopath.
I mean, I
like
guess
a very
that stuff
well
was
written.
good. The stuff about like how he always wanted them to smile.
Yeah.
Like that was good, but I just feel like it was just missing.
It was too on the nose or not blatant enough, in a weird way or something.
Well, I think it's like what you said about him having, because he had superpowers. Nobody had to feel like they were responsible for his actions. Like, like the viewer didn't have to feel like they were complicit in what Kilgrave does. But the truth is we are.
We are, and also it's like much more powerful if someone who doesn't have total mind control says smile or smile more, and a woman feels compelled of her own free will to smile for him. That is like way more evil in what that real life man is doing than having literal mind control and you can't even stop yourself and you're not even in a way moving your muscles, and that's all like very.
And I think that's a good point, and I think Kilgrave doing that to people with mind control cheapens the experience of everybody that happens to all the time.
Yeah, that was my gut feeling watching the show. Is like, first it was like, oh, it's cool that they're doing this, and then it was like, nah, this is kind of disrespectful to people who've actually lived through this. I kind of feel like not being, a person who's lived through that, so I'm being like the outspoken ally, but...
Come on. You just need to smile more. See, you're so beautiful.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be beautiful for me?
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely, I felt like it was something that we kind of, well, also for this episode, I made us like get through it.
I didn't mind binge watching those episodes, but once we'd like not watched it, I didn't want to go back to it.
Yeah, nothing played out in any kind of way it didn't really expect. Ultimately, there's a couple.
Well, it was really anticlimactic.
Yeah, because he knew what was going to.
It was going to have to be though. Like
it was either that weird corporation, the weird X-Files corporation. Like all shows have to have one of those now. Dr. Kozlov people. They were going to like get him at the end and take him away somewhere, and he'd be like this thing looming over next season. He's going to come back or something. Or she was going to kill him. It was the one. Those are the only two options. And at that point, when there's 5 episodes left, you're like, meh. Yeah. I guess it's like I'm at the point where I don't really feel like I'm gonna even feel any kind of like vindicated. Like, oh yay, she killed him finally. I know it's gonna happen. I've already had that feeling, that feeling of justice or whatever.
One thing that I liked. Spoiler alert. I don't know. Spoiler alert for everything. People get really mad when we say spoiler alert too late. Spoiler alert for the last episode and how it ends.
Yeah.
I really liked how after she killed him, that she was potentially going to be held accountable for it.
Yeah.
That never happens.
Yeah.
You're like, the bad guy's killed, la 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 la. But like, I love that you just killed a guy in front of a bunch of people.
Yeah. Of course you're going to get arrested.
Yeah, I like that element. I also liked that there was like homo stuff that was absolutely not about anybody being homo. Like those.
Oh, those the 2 guys.
No, they're lesbians.
Oh, right. Yeah. I was
See, like you don't even notice because it was just not an issue. Nobody was ever like, hey, they're gay.
Right.
It was just a plot line that in no way had anything to do with the fact that they were lesbian.
Either one of those characters could have been male.
Yeah.
Like maybe they were in an earlier script or like I have no idea what the if they were in the comic at all.
But that's pretty that's pretty unusual to have.
Yeah. No, that was well done. It was
queer people that are not a stereotype or not there because that's part of the story.
Was incidental. And it's one of the first times we've seen that where it is completely incidental, not remarked on, and not like it's not like a big reveal or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess in Sense8 that's sort of true as well.
It's sort of true, but they're also kind of more like banging you on the head with like, look how progressive we are with trans characters. Yeah, it was like they're very gay. Look how gay they are, and it's sort of like that's nice, but it wasn't done in this nice, completely, in a way you don't even notice.
Like super respectfully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like they did treat it exactly like as if they'd been any hetero couple. You know, like if it was a hetero couple, they didn't know it was going to bring attention. Look, it's a hetero couple getting divorced. My God. Yeah. It's so hot that they're hetero or whatever. Yeah. It's like not what it's about.
I didn't even really realize that until we were talking about it.
Yeah.
I also remember going into it, somebody had said something on Facebook about the sex in it being really hot, and I was like, oh, I guess we should watch this show. I feel like there was like no sex in it.
Well, it was only in like the first couple episodes.
Yeah.
There was like her and Luke in that one episode, and I guess it was it Carrie Ann Moss and
Pam,
I guess maybe they don't.
I don't remember.
No, and Simpson and what's her face. Yeah.
But like,
we're just not sexy people, so at least him. Ugh. He's like the weird, bizarro universe Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
Which obviously he was supposed to be Marvel Universe. He's supposed to be like the Captain America gone wrong kind of thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and he's trying to be Captain America. He's trying to be that hero, but he's just this patriarchal douchebag.
What comic books are X-Men in?
Marvel, but there's like licensing issues where Marvel can't make any TV or movies because some other studio owns the X-Men rights, so that's why they don't have any crossovers, or it's like two separate universes at the moment. So the Avengers and Spider-Man and Daredevil and all this stuff is in the Jessica Jones universe.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it like these. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, because you're kind of like, oh, Kilgrave and Professor X, like they're going to do something with that. And then it's like, oh, no, they can't because of licensing. They're not going to bring him into it at all. Although I heard somebody say something like they're resolving that, so then they are going to bring the X-Men into the Avengers universe, which is just going to be a muddy clusterfuck of too much shit.
Yeah. I liked when Claire came on and I was like, hey, that's
bargain basement Rosario Dawson.
Yeah. And first you're like, isn't that what's her name from Daredevil? And I was like, is that Rosario Dawson or not? And you're like, no, that is it, Rosario Dawson. And I was like, oh, what? It was Rosario Dawson.
Yeah.
I like her.
Yeah, no,
I'd like to apologize right now for saying she was bargain basement Rosario Dawson. Do you know why I thought that, though?
Because she's older now?
No, because it just seemed like a bit part. Like, it didn't seem like a character.
Like a character that was going to be in the show for more than those 5 minutes. Yeah.
And
why would Rosario Dawson be doing that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was why I thought that, because I was like, this is not a part for Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, once she had more than 2 lines, I started paying attention. I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's Rosario Dawson doing her Daredevil character, right?
Well, and I was like, man, this like random nurse is kind of a smoke show. Whoa.
And it was kind of also weird too. It was sort of like, oh, this whole show would have been better if Rosario Dawson's Claire character had been in through, because she was like the kind of the best part of Daredevil in a lot of ways too.
Oh, yeah.
And it was sort of like, oh wow, this is what the show is really missing. This nurse character. It's like, wow, maybe the show is really not very good. If you notice in the last episode that this bit part character is really bringing something to it.
Like, she could have kind of helped them with stuff.
Yeah. And I kind of thought that's what the Wendy character, the Carrie Ann Moss's wife, was going to be the Claire character. Yeah,
it would have been nice if she'd been able to be more than just a bitter ex-wife or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think she's such a fabulous actress. Like, it would have been neat to see more of her than that.
It was wasted opportunity. And
it seemed too over the top. Like, that, like, the character of who she is that they'd set up didn't fit with who she was to me.
Yeah, she got too
Crazy.
yeah, for no reason at all. Like, you could see that the way they set up Hogarth, Carrie-Anne Moss's character, she could have really fucked with her head a lot, and you could see her driving her to that. But they didn't show that. There was, or maybe they originally had that in some scripts, and it got cut out for more endless shots of Jessica Jones drinking alone in her office or something like that. So just in case he'd forgotten, you know.
Yeah.
I really like this, the relationship between the crazy neighbor and Malcolm. Is that the Malcolm, the guy with who was the drug addict at the beginning, and what is his name?
Yeah, maybe Malcolm.
Yeah, but anyways, that character, the hipster black guy.
Yeah, druggie.
Every time they had a scene with them, it was like, this is a pretty good show. And then we'll go back to Jessica Jones stuff, and I'll be like, I don't care.
Yeah, well, he was good.
He was good, and she was good.
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of the peripheral characters were pretty good. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I liked about the show. It was just sort of Kristen Ritter's one-note acting and one-note portrayal.
Is that who Jessica Jones is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the issue is that character was not sufficiently complex.
Or Kristen Ritter didn't bring complexity to it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it was there.
I don't know, but but in the same way as what's her face and How to Get Away with Murder, Viola Davis.
Yeah.
I don't think on the page there's any complexity to her character,
Wow.
and she kind of brought it, right? And it might be
It's
kind of hard to
true.
say, like, live up to that level of acting, but at the same time, especially with TV scripts, I think a lot of the characters where we are in performances where we're like, wow, what an amazing character. I think it is the actor bringing that, and I kind of feel like Kristen Ritter didn't really bring it.
Well, she didn't bring anything.
You know, it was kind of...
And, I mean, I guess, part
Like
of that is what she had to work with, and maybe part of that is...
Like, I think she was really good, like, if her character was, like, a bit part, you know, like, she was the surly sidekick or something like that, she's kind of great for that, but as the bringing that character to the lead, it was very flat, I felt like. And, and just showing remorse for something every sixth scene on cue is sort of, that's not depth, that's like, that's just changing your facial expression. But a really fantastic show we watched was Death in Paradise.
Yeah, we love Death in Paradise, but we're really heartbroken.
It was. This is, okay, spoiler alert, and I feel like, because we went into Death in Paradise not knowing anything about it.
Yeah, at all.
This is a warning for people. Like, I think it was a really fun, light show with some good depth to it.
Yeah.
In the characters and stuff. They kill off Inspector Richard Poole, like, suddenly, in the first episode of season 3.
With no warning. And I feel like right before we watched that episode, I said to Jacob, I said to you, I don't know how I'm supposed to say this on podcast. I said to you,
do you think
that, what's his name, and what's her name are going to get together?
Richard and Camille are ever going to get
together. And then he was dead right after that.
Yeah. And I wish, I
was so in denial. I was like, oh, it's a prank. What a weird prank. Why did he do this prank?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever been emotionally affected by a fictional character's death. Maybe ever in my life, but definitely not to the extent where I was like angry for days. Every time I thought of the show, I was mad at them for having done that. There was that night we're like in bed and
we're like drifting off to sleep. And what did I say to you?
You said, I'm really sad that Richard Poole's dead. And I was like, that's what I'm thinking about too. This is like 3 days later.
Yeah.
But now this is the reason why I was so upset.
Also, listeners, Jacob's eyes are brimming with tears right now. So are mine.
Yeah. But it's because, in contrast to Kristen Ritter, nameless British actor guy, I'm not even sure what his name is. Something, I have no idea. I've definitely seen it because I looked him up to find out if he was dead while we're watching this episode. It's like, yep, only 13 episodes. But anyways, his portrayal of that character, which starts off as a very bumbling caricature of a stiff British man.
Very little redeeming about him.
Yeah, and just like that, when you make fun of, the stiff British person, and he was like all the stereotypes,
Yeah.
But over the 13 episodes that he's in, he does such a good job of letting you into this character who has been bullied his whole life and all this stuff, and just the little ways.
Just so authentic. He's so authentic.
And there's just the little ways where he's like beginning to come out of his shell. and he's just beginning to maybe be able to enjoy life for the first, learning how to enjoy life on this island for
And
the
having
first time.
friends,
And
having friends.
having friends for the first time in his life. And, he's like a little bit older than me, probably like 40-something, late 40s. And then they kill him. Like, they couldn't just write him out so that he's like he's broken out of his shell and he's living a life in London, back in London or something like that. This show, oh, by the way, takes place on the probably fictitious
Island of
Saint Marie.
Saint-Marie.
Yeah, in the Caribbean. They've written the backstories that it was equally French and English colonial history. So there's like, a lot of like English-British clash of cultures jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So anyways, he's been assigned, for whatever reason, England has the police control of this, or providing police oversight
Right.
to this island. And I guess the French too, because Camille is part of the French police force.
French or
She studied
she's
with,
from Saint Marie.
but she studied with the French police and then
Oh.
was back from Paris.
Oh, right.
So
Maybe it was
anyways,
just a course. I don't know.
something like that. But anyways, so he's been sent to this island. He didn't want to be there, and he's
Hates the heat. Hates the sand.
hates the sand.
Hates the lizards.
I mean, the fact that I could really identify with him as a human being, socially awkward, does not like all the things people normally like.
Yep.
So that kind of really got me too.
He
It
was
like,
your homie.
yeah, as I finally got to see somebody on TV that I could really relate to. Which, I mean, I say that about a lot of characters that I like, but it's still one of those things, It's like, oh yeah, that experience, I understand that experience, that bullied by, the patriarchy and all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, I get it.
And then they killed him.
And then they kill him. But anyways, yeah. So that was the background of the show. Anyways, one of the gags is he was always trying to get back to England, get re-signed back to England, and then there'd be some reason why he would have to stay on the island.
Yeah.
And then gets to the point where, in the end of season 2, he's like, he really wants to stay.
Yeah.
He realized that he's building a life there, and they could have written something in when because the actor leaves the show because he wants to spend more time with his family.
Right.
In real life, they could have written him out like he gets a promotion, Scotland Yard or something crazy like that, and he goes. Maybe he even invites Camille to come with him, and she has to stay in her home. And he could have just left it with some sort of sense of closure and stuff, or even this idea that maybe he'll come back for an episode.
Yep.
You can hold on to that hope or something. But instead, they killed him.
Yep.
Just when things were starting to work out for this character.
Awful.
And I think they probably had no conception that it would affect anybody. Like, they probably felt like...
No one would care.
Yeah.
Because they bullied him too.
Yeah.
They didn't respect him either.
No. So then he's replaced with...
That bumbling fool from My Family
Yeah,
and Love
Nick.
Actually.
Yeah, Nick, I think is his name in My Family. Which is fine. I don't want to return to the show, but I think if it had started off with him, I probably would have been fine with it. I mean, like, oh, it's the guy from kid from My Family. I'll just watch the show. But I sort of have this, like, I can't.
Because the absence of Richard Poole is
It's
so
just
evident.
So evident, yeah. And infuriatingly, with the My Family guy, ratings went up. But the highest rating at that point was the first episode of season 3 before they killed Richard Poole. So it was already had built up this this following, and it was like going onwards and upwards. So I wonder if just maybe the producers were super pissed that he was leaving, and they're just like, we're gonna kill you. Figuratively, we're gonna kill you for leaving. I wonder. But it was just I feel slightly foolish caring so much.
No, we should write Richard Poole a letter and see if
Make
he'll
him feel
write you back.
Make him feel bad.
Maybe he can
we'll
just
write
give
to
you
him.
some closure.
We'll write to him as Richard Poole.
Well, I'll write to him.
Special Inspector Richard Poole.
I'll write to the actor. You write to Richard Poole, and I'll just put your letter inside and be like, listen, my partner really identified with your character, and he's really upset that you died, and could you please send him a letter that would give him a bit of closure?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, this was found in the personal effects of Richard Poole, where he said, I know I'm going to die from this, but it's what I want, because off screen I asked Camille to love me and she wouldn't.
Even though she went into absolute hysterics upon seeing his body.
Yeah, she was less sad, though, than when her friend died.
That's true. When her friend died, she was on like the Archer Rampage Warpath.
Yeah.
And she was kind of just coolly distraught over Richard Poole's death.
She was internalizing it.
She was.
It was because
her
grief, her level of grief was higher than what people would have expected from her. So she didn't have the opportunity to really have that because she really loved him, but she couldn't say that.
And also would have put a damper on what they were trying to make a funny episode, because they had like My Family Guy doing all his like slapstick pratfalls and stuff. So they're like trying to keep it light and funny in the spirit of the show. It's like, you just fucking killed Richard Poole.
Like, have some fucking respect, people.
Yeah, clown? What the hell, you think it was clown time?
Although he was cute about not sitting at his desk and...
Yeah, I mean, they did it sort of as well as could be expected. I don't know. I'm just not quite ready to go back.
I know, buddy, I know.
I just can't do it.
At least Jessica Jones is over.
Yeah, and then we watched a Poirot today.
Oh, yeah, Poirot.
Instead of going back to Death in Paradise. What struck me most, it was like the first episode, 1989. And it was like, oh yeah, I remember this is when BBC shows or British shows seemed so great because the production values were so much better than American shows, like compared to American shows at the time.
Yeah.
Which were just shit. And now it seems okay. But at the time, really loved Poirot and all this other stuff because the production value was so amazing. It was like you're watching a little 1-hour movie, and now it's like, oh, it's just a TV show. Just a TV show, like every other TV show.
But at the same time, if you watched an American TV show from '89, you'd be like, oh, dear God.
Yeah, like A-Team or Magnum P.I.
Yeah.
Like, I guess Magnum P.I. would be the American version of, like, a Poirot for the time. And last time I tried to watch a Magnum P.I. or a Miami Vice, which I remembered being really good, it was just like, what the fuck is this shit? Was TV that bad back then? It was. TV was that bad back then.
I think it's that bad now.
I guess so.
Just that's not the TV that we watch.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I mean, Bones.
We watch Poirot from '89.
Yeah, I guess Bones would be equitably bad. Like, especially like was it season 9 or 10?
Whatever we just watched.
Whatever.
8?
Yeah, whichever the one where they kill Sweets. Spoiler alert.
You're a hideous human being.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's literally just a really bad show now.
Wait, let's say that a different way so you can. The one where they, spoiler alert, kill Sweets.
Oh, you want me to edit that in?
I don't know.
No, it doesn't matter. Nobody watches that show.
Well, anyone who does should have seen it by now because it's been on Netflix. So if you were... No.
I feel no. I don't know. It's not even well done. It's not like I think for a spoiler to actually be a spoiler, you have to be spoiling something good. The death of Sweets was like nothing. That's the thing.
It was telegraphed too.
It was telegraphed.
You cried about Sweets.
I don't think I know. I cried about Daisy's death of characters. Don't bother me.
The
so
reaction
much.
of other people.
The reaction of
well,
other
yes,
people.
obviously.
So
that's the only thing that's sad.
Daisy's eulogy
Yeah.
got to me. But yeah, the actual death of characters, not so much. And like even the death of Snape dying didn't bother me, but it's the whole backstory that they in that little montage up leading up to his death, where he says always and stuff. It's like it's just like really well done. It's like that story is so. It has such an impact.
Well,
but the actual
story
death
is
of
very similar to the Richard Poole story.
It is, I guess.
Snape and Richard Poole have some things in common as characters.
That's true.
Not a lot. I mean, Richard Poole doesn't have that evil element or the bad choices.
True.
He's a little bit less, unrealistic in that respect. He's a much more realistic character than Snape.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't live in a wizarding world.
Shut up. That's not what I mean.
No, he's more of a real human being and human traits that we can understand. Yeah.
He's more relatable.
More relatable. Probably the most relatable Snape ever was, though, is in that last reveal of his love for Lily. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, Sweet's death, the actual death, it's sort of like...
That's what's missing from Jessica Jones. At no point do you actually see her have any feelings.
Yeah, she cries once or twice. She cried over Hope's body.
It didn't seem real. Like that, when Snape cries about Lily, like... Because he is a character that's very emotionless all the time.
Yeah.
But that, like, seeing that, because she's very she's very like, meh, meh, meh. But seeing that those breaks are what, endear you to him.
And that's what makes
endear him to you.
Makes an interesting character.
Yeah.
I guess that's true. Like they would try to. There was scenes where they were showing Jessica Jones have emotions about stuff, but it wasn't believable or something like that.
No, and I think you're right. I think it has a lot to do with her portrayal. I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Sorry,
like
you were saying something about sweets.
Oh, it was just sort of like, I was like, oh, I like John Daly or whatever his name is in this show. It was at least kind of lame that he isn't going to be on the show. And I was like, well, the guy that they're replacing with, obviously from the FBI, he's good enough. And it was just like, wow, this is my reaction to Sweets dying, is meh. Mm-hmm. And I was sort of like, wow, a few seasons earlier, I would have been much more upset about him leaving. And it was just like, oh yeah, this show has just gotten really bad.
It did get bad. Really bad.
To the point where it's sort of like, was the show ever good? Did we waste years of our lives on this show?
No, it was good. It was good.
It started off that bad, I think, and we kind of motored through it, and then it got really... I feel like there was a window where Bones was actually a really good show. Mm-hmm. And every season would go up and down.
You have to edit that spoiler. You have to edit that spoiler out.
For why?
For Lee. Lee actually listens to our show and doesn't know about Sweets yet. I'll tell her not to listen to it. You leave it in, I'll tell her not to listen to it.
Right.
That's easier.
What season is she on?
I don't know. I'll ask her.
Because if she's on season 4...
No, she's not.
I don't know. That's what I was saying, though. What I was saying is that it's not a spoiler because it's like, I don't know, I just kind of felt like...
I don't know. That got spoiled for me.
Yeah.
And I was irritated about it.
I could see that. But then when you were like, oh, that's the thing that I got spoiled for me, and I was appreciative of you not telling me.
Right.
When that was it, I was like, who cares? I think knowing it was going to happen would have been more impactful than what actually happened. It was so unimpactful, Sweet's death, except for the funeral scene. Otherwise, it was just sort of like, wow, they really botched that. Lee, stop listening.
I'm asking her. I'm telling her not to listen to it.
Okay.
It's good this isn't live.
It's a good thing we haven't watched Star Wars though, because we'd be spoiling the fuck out of that.
No one in their right mind would listen to us do a Star Wars episode.
Before seeing the show, yeah. Yeah. Or at all. If they like Star Wars, they're probably in their right mind. They wouldn't listen to us potentially shit talk it.
What do you mean? Of course we're going to shit talk it.
Yeah. I have this small hope in some corner of my heart, this little tiny twinkling diamond, that it'll actually be in some way good.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It could be the perfect movie and we're still going to shit talk it.
That's true. I can always find something. There's an interesting YouTube series channel. It's called Everything Wrong With. And then they go through a movie and show everything wrong. And they do ding, 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 ding. Mm-hmm. They do a tally. And I was like, wow, this guy is way too nitpicky for me. That is amazing. Because he was finding I guess technically flaws. But they're even flaws that I wouldn't care about.
Right.
It's sort of I don't know how boring a story would be for him to not find any flaws in it. Because it would just be and I think in good storytelling, there's a fine line between too much, expository detail, not enough expository detail, where you're like, why would that person do that? That this makes no sense, then that's a flaw. There's a fine line between how much you can leave out so that everything makes sense, but the story still moves along in a way that is interesting to watch. So
yeah, people
keep saying it's good though.
They do. Well, I think the best thing I heard on the radio was basically where they were like, it's pretty much just the first Star Wars movie retold.
Yeah. And then when you said
and
that,
you like that, so
yeah, which means it's the third time they've remade that movie. Because that's basically episode 1 was also the first one retold. When you're going through it, orphan on a desert planet meets a droid, MacGuffin, that goes off and does
What's MacGuffin?
MacGuffin's this plot driving device, so R2-D2 is the MacGuffin in New Hope.
Who's the original MacGuffin?
I think it's a Shakespeare character, maybe.
Name MacGuffin?
Yeah.
Shakespeare MacGuffin?
Yeah, something like that. Guff MacGuffin.
MacGuffin.
Yeah, so it's usually a thing
this droid's not working. The plot drivers failed.
Yeah, it's a goal that the characters are focused on, but kind of gets forgotten.
Right.
Often, so famous one being the Maltese Falcon, where everybody's going after the Maltese Falcon, but then the Maltese Falcon itself becomes kind of irrelevant, really.
Spoiler!
Well, it's not irrelevant, but it's sort of
I don't
the characters
I don't know
and
the
stuff.
story of
Yeah,
the Maltese Falcon. So.
like you end up just watching the movie for the characters, and that's sort of what a MacGuffin is. It's this thing that drives the plot. But
you know what? You're a MacGuffin.
I am a MacGuffin. I'm the MacGuffin of your life.
That's romantic. Jacob, the MacGuffin of my life.
Yeah.
MacGuffin.
Anyways, our next episode will probably be Star Wars.
Probably.
Because we're going to see it the week after Christmas.
Or it might be Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Road Chip.
Really?
I think that might be what it's called. I don't know. It's certainly not a movie we're going to watch.
No. Right? Because this is the problem that we've been talking about with Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Okay.
Is that how come they're so big?
Or so small.
Weren't they the size of kids and Dave's there?
Oh, they're like this big in the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but there was like a cartoon or something where they were like kid-sized.
Well, I think maybe in the cartoon, the TV cartoon, maybe they were kid-sized.
Right.
But in the movies, with these CG movies, they're just like chipmunk-sized, which is weird. Because there's like a shot where they're at a disco or something, and one of them is dancing, and people are doing the circle around the dancer, and they're all like on their knees so that they can be like dancing with them.
Weird.
It's fucked up. But there's also more disturbing. I guess the plot of this movie is they discover the chipettes in this movie. So the chipettes are like, for whatever reason, these chipmunks wear clothes, except the chipettes in their audition are naked because they're chipmunks from the wild, I guess.
Right.
But they're doing like sexy dances, and it is fucking disgusting.
So we're not going to be seeing the chipmunks.
No.
Dear listeners.
No, sorry if you were wanting a review of that.
And if you are going to see it, you are a sick fuck. And
Yeah, weird.
you need to evaluate your bestiality tendencies and realize that animals cannot consent.
Exactly.
Nerd hurdles. Nerd hurdles. Nerd hurdles.